Because the thing that great art usually has in common is that the artist is authentically searching, and you can see that. That's pretty much it. Not good or bad. Authentically searching. Dear artist, as a screenwriter, filmmaker, storyteller, I have to admit these days, AI is really feeling a lot more like an existential threat, and I didn't see it advancing this quickly. I've written multiple screenplays that take place in the future, and in these stories I had people using augmented computer interfaces, and there was like 3D fabricators all over the streets with printers like ATMs. There was food printers, nanotechnology with AI involved, but I didn't use enough robots because even the robots are basically here. I didn't see that coming for at least another 20 years, but it looks like that's also a lot sooner than we thought. So, dear artists, it looks like AI has entered the domain of art making, which, of course, is a delectable test for engineers. Working on AI as art is inherently thought to be within the domain of the human psyche alone, or at least outside of logic. And ethical questions exist about copyright infringement, as these models seem to be taking in data from the internet at large as well as the art of actual artists. And yet here it is, painting, filming, writing, making art. However, this threat of AI is a lot like the same threat that has faced artists since the very beginning, just under a different name, and that's access and or lack of access. Historically, artists had to either bypass or ignore issues of survival. One either had to come from a well-to-do background to pursue the arts, like at an academy or through a patron system, or not, as you'd be part of the peasant class, performers, craftspeople, traveling and making shows to entertain crowds as other means of survival, like a regular job, were an anathema, because you are too sensitive, and that is your strength. You, artists, are the descendants of the jesters throughout the world who were the truth tellers to the rich and the powerful. And this was all considered very fringe and often low class until the advent of mass media, which made being an artist look like a glamorous profession. But as you try to become an artist, you will learn that this is an illusion. There is a cliche platitude you might hear as you keep on making art. Just don't quit, kid. But as you get older, you start to realize the utter truth of the sentiment. I made a dinner for a filmmaker friend of mine who told me he was going to quit filmmaking. We were 28 at the time, and I told him, you know though, if you think about it, when we were 18, we both had like 100 rivals all trying to make it in the industry, but 10 years later, they're all gone. It's just the two of us left. So we can't quit yet. We're just so close. Because being an artist is a little like Squid Game, except instead of dying, you get a well-paid corporate gig outside of the games of making art. Or maybe not. But be wary of the gaze of institutions. You must remember that institutions are these slow-moving, archaic entities, and they need people that in fact do not care about them to stay relevant. When I was younger, this filmmaker friend, the same friend, he made his first feature film and I watched it and I was impressed with the work. He submitted to all the big festivals, Sundance, Cannes, blah blah blah, and he was rejected by all of them and felt utterly dejected. He felt like he was a failure. But I told him, fuck them, man. Festivals pick films based on length, the shorter the better, and the curation of some theme. And they skip good films all the time, they miss good things all the time. You just screen the film because it's good. And he did. He did a small private screening in Dumbo where a New York Times critic happened to be in the audience. He was garnered with the critic's pick, and this led to book deals, a professorship, and a storied career as a producer in Hollywood. Because when you get there without institutions, they'll come to you to help you for the privilege of being associated with someone that does not care about them. I can tell you about case after case. I have seen other artists kind of mold themselves towards institutional acclaim, but after entering the actual market, they were left in the dust because institutions are not necessarily about the people. They're often about a small group of elites with very fad-driven, biased takes on what is good and what is bad. But you should try not to be caught up in ideas of whether your art is good or bad. I was with a painter friend at the time and had these massive pieces in her studio, and she said to me, I don't know if these are any good or bad, and it kind of freaked me out. So I was like, what? You don't need to know whether they're good or bad. All you have to know is like, are you authentically searching for something? So anyway, she started searching more and changed her art mediums and eventually became much more successful. Because what is often great is overlooked and unearthed years later to be seen as the truth. Like Van Gogh, Hilma af Klint. You realize it's great because the thing that great art usually has in common is that the artist is authentically searching, and you could see that. That's pretty much it. Not good or bad, authentically searching. As a sensitive artist, you must realize the fear and uncertainty are normal. It's the most natural thing in the world. You must be sensitive enough to feel the human experience and its beautiful nuance and communicate it somehow. Aesthetically, you are conducting a basic alchemy, communing in a ritual that connects with countless others in a profound way, as the best art tends to remind us of who we are and that we are more than our everyday experiences, that there is an inexplicable uniqueness to our human consciousness. So when you face doubts, try and remember that doubt is integral to your faith as an artist. Without doubt, you'll definitely be a shit artist, but too much and you'll never be an artist at all. But I also know there are two kinds of artists in the world. Those that make art to be loved, and those that make art to love the world. You could be both. Hopefully, as you mature, you realize how much more sustainable and freeing it is when making art is about loving the world. And when the art is not about you, it becomes way easier to fail, because it's not about you. And when you remove yourself from the equation, it's not as personal. And I advise you to try and create purpose to your work. A purpose that transcends the self. It can even be totally about yourself, yet still transcend. When you realize the very specific and weird idiosyncratic things you do in your life are actually the most universal things about you, because we all got weird specific things. You can make work to shed light, or rather shadows, on issues. Even if simply to entertain people that live day in, day out in a life of drudgery. Your work might give them a little period of rest and joy for a short time, because great art can put one into a meditative state, bringing relief to those that suffer, or maybe give hope for the hopeless. AI is just another tool for doing that, a level of access we've never seen before. Many of these problems with AI lie in the commodification of art, but if you're authentically searching as an artist, commodification becomes less relevant. You just needed the means to get the paintbrush, to get the camera, the films, or to get the magazine clippings, or to get those video clips that you juxtapose to say one thing or another. These tools, they all helped our accessibility as artists. And this AI is just another tool in the toolkit. Liberal arts degrees are a good idea now, because without any barriers, maybe it takes the creative to elevate these tools to new heights. And do you know why you do this? And it's no small task, but there is some intense compulsion to make art in some people. The reason you do this is that amidst the utter chaos in the creation of our universe, matter happened. And then at some point, life happened on this planet. And in that chaos, eventually, we happened. And we have the consciousness to understand that we are existing in the universe right now, and that we are the universe aware of itself, yet feeling detached. And so eventually, we made unifying concepts like math and squares and triangles and the arts to describe and express the ineffable sense of perfection. Because as an artist, you are the universe expressing itself for the first time. That's why we exist. So remember, when you hand most children a crayon, they'll make you some art. But sooner than later, the art is shaken out of us unless you remain an artist in spite of your fears, because I think something in the genetic code makes you what you are to compel humanity with new visions. But whatever it is, hold on to your hearts, and you'll see that it will protect you as you decide to dance within the chaos. Sincerely, Dink. P.S. If you want to know how to tap into infinite creativity, check out this video where I lay out a rough idea.